Hi guys, so we're going to talk about Chainlink and Gaming today. I'll be talking you through everything. It's going to be another whiteboard session, and I will be sharing some links as well. It's important to say we have a hackathon that is starting at the moment on Thursday, and we hope that a lot of you take part in that. It's a 4-week online Chainlink hackathon, which you can win a lot of prizes in. I'll drop the link in there. I also encourage you to follow Encode Club on Twitter, and if you do a post about attending this event, I will retweet you, and I might even retweet you from the main Encode account. If you want to follow me, you can do so here, and I will happily, again, if you mention about this event, do a screenshot, I'll happily retweet you, which should get you some good follower numbers as well. As I say, today's event is on Chainlink and Gaming. We're going to talk you through various aspects of gaming in general, how it applies specifically to Chainlink, and a very nice broad topic for us to get stuck into. I will be using a Miro board today. We like Miro boards. They allow us to very formulaically go through all a topic, and I like doing that. So let's, and I will share the link so everyone can also follow along as well. Another minute or so, and then we will formally get going. Cool, awesome. Let's get this show on the road. So I'm Anthony Beaumont. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Encode Club, and I'll be talking you through today about the Chainlink ecosystem and gaming. I'm going to share my screen now. I'm going to broadly split this topic up into a few areas. So let's first of all, as you know, we've been through these events before. I do like a little whiteboard, so we'll be doing this through the lens of that. So this topic, if you otherwise did not know, is Chainlink and Gaming. Let's give this box a nice blue Chainlink color, I reckon. If you have any questions, please use the comment box, guys, and I'll be more than happy to take those. And let's make it like that. So I'm probably going to split this topic up into a few areas. Let's make these boxes, I think, white with some nice blue text. So we're going to talk about, first of all, with some blue text, not white text. So first of all, we're going to talk about gaming in Web3. That's still not the right color. I'm not going to, you've talked already about what Chainlink is. Second, we're going to talk specifically about Chainlink and gaming, which is the feature set that Chainlink has to offer. Third, we're going to talk about the future of Web3 gaming, which I think is, as we'll see, I think the most important thing. And last but not least, I'm going to call this the current state. And as we always like to do, opportunities for you. So what I'll do, if you weren't at our last event, why weren't you? But I did a nice thread on Twitter, which I'm going to grab now, which kind of goes through, see where it is. So I didn't do that thread, but I'll find that mirror board and paste it onto him. Okay, cool. So let's talk about the current state of Web3 gaming. So I think the first thing to say is gaming is popular but nascent in Web3. By nascent, it just means it's very early. Now, most things in Web3 is itself early, so this is not a kind of too groundbreaking comment to make. The reason it's kind of nascent, I think, is a few reasons. One is building a game on a blockchain is pretty much impossible. Now, notice the key word here is on a blockchain. The reason it's pretty much impossible is games require thousands of micro events, which, if they were transactions, would be very slow and very costly. A good kind of analogy of this is, let's say you are playing, e.g., if you were playing a shooting game, every shot, every movement, side to side, every shot at you could itself be a transaction. This would become slow and expensive super quickly. Cool. So that's the first thing to say. Look, it's pretty much impossible, but obviously most games in crypto kind of aren't themselves on the blockchain, and we'll talk about what they are, or rather, two, most games are hosted on normal servers and actually outsource part of the game, or rather actually only put a part of the game on chain. Now, the part that's usually put on chain is the tradable assets. And by tradable assets, we could mean a token, but we often mean NFTs. And therefore, crypto's utility to gaming can just be as a settlement layer, transaction layer. And why is crypto good at this? Well, crypto is good at this because things we know. Good at this because it's great as virtual money. We know this. This is the original use case of Bitcoin. Cool. So current state, so that means only part of games are actually on chain. The third kind of reason is, and I think this is kind of important. One thing kind of I always say, the main use case. Sorry, people are still coming in. 3. The main use case of crypto is still speculation and gambling, and this is kind of at odds with the main use case of great games. So by this, what I mean here is that, and I think this is a fairly strong but accurate statement, I can't think of a use case that is popular in crypto that does not owe its success to gambling. NFTs is an obvious one. Any DeFi application, tokens themselves are products in this case. And the problem with this is, like, great games have a totally different model. Typically, you either buy a game, then enjoy it. I think I hear someone in the background, so I'll just ask people to mute, and if you have questions, put them in comments. Either you typically buy a game, enjoy it, or you kind of pay to play. The other thing is also that, and we'll talk about a very good example people know about, which is called loot. And let's bring this up here. The other factor here that has to be remembered is, let me put it here. The problem with games as kind of decentralized protocols is it means you can't iterate the game as easily. Most games have yearly releases, or yearly or even yearly to 5 yearly releases. This is harder with Web3 games, but nevertheless, and as we kind of go into the future, perhaps this opens up a new type of game. And this new type of game, there was kind of a speculative moment, which some of you remember, called something called loot. And loot was basically this. might be more participants. I'll open that. Loot was basically this. Loot was a game that started as just an asset, a playing card with attributes. And people started building new ones. Now the hope was that Loot would become an open source gaming universe, something never seen before. And it did fail, but the thought was very cool. And this thought was, what if we could build a huge game that was naturally evolving and everyone contributed to in some way. Maybe this is something incredible. And I think that kind of notion itself was quite fueled a lot of the speculation around loops. There's the kind of future. The other factor which I think is in the future of gaming here is the idea of economies within games. I think that's also a particularly important one. Look, most games have closed economies, both in terms of native currencies, which can only be used in the game. Right, I'll tell you what, we'll just break this apart. But those economies that can be used, only used. Native currencies, and also inability to add tools and services on top of that game. And I kind of had a thought before, and which I think is a good example. I think, imagine Harry Potter game. Wouldn't it be cool? Wouldn't it be cool if I could set up my own shop in, I can't remember how you spell it, is it diagonally? I've actually spelled it right. In diagonally, selling a unique NFT cloak to wizards as a business. Would this not itself do well? Wouldn't it be cool? And this, I think, touches upon a concept that is overstated. I didn't want to call this event a metaverse event, but metaverse. And I think the idea behind a metaverse is you bring to life a digital world that is totally immersive. And the most immersive things right now are games. And this kind of brings us back to Chainlink. Now, while if there's any questions right now, I'm just going to make this look pretty. Cool. Okay, so let's talk about Chainlink and Gaming. Now, this is a Chainlink event, so you would expect some Chainlink related content. So Chainlink itself, obviously we know, is an oracle. And specifically, Chainlink has a particular, but Chainlink has a particular feature. Unfortunately, we're not doing mic questions, so chat questions are much easier for me. And this feature is randomness. So one of the problems with games on chain is that if you put something on chain, you can see the code and therefore everything becomes determined. You know what's going to happen. I can look ahead in the block and see what's about to happen, what transaction is going to be mined. I'll put that as an extra comment. Don't do that. I can see what transactions, i.e. events, are about to happen as well. Cool. Nocturnally, as we'd have to acknowledge. Yeah, that's actually right. That's a good point. And in Chainlink, this is called the VRF. So Chainlink has the VRF, which is a verifiable random function. We can generate random numbers or randomness, kind of very, very important, which then opens up gaming. Why is this kind of important? What use cases does this open up? Well, one is provably random NFT creation and distribution, which I think is kind of, therefore we can ensure that assets have random traits. So that's kind of important. If you do manage to put a game on chain, we can then have random events. And therefore, quite necessarily, unpredictable gaming experiences. Let's do it like that. Next, so unbiased prize winner selection as well, especially for things like random draws. Or lottery-based games. We have this concept in crypto also, like games don't just have to be like shooting games. We also have this idea of lossless competition, where entry fees are put. Abhishek, what I always recommend is Twitter accounts, so we can all follow each other as a kind of good method. All kind of follow each other and also kind of retweets and kind of get some more traction. So I'll redrop my Twitter in, and please give us a follow, tweet you're here, and we'll retweet. So yeah, lossless competition where entry fees are put into a pool, a pot that is put into a lending protocol to gain yield. Cool. We also have kind of fair loyalty reward allocation as well. Again, we need some idea of kind of if random equals fair. It's a very good point. We'll talk about that in a moment. Trustless ordering. Yeah, I think that's fairly it, but because I want to talk about secondly another feature, which is also Chainlink keepers. While we're doing that, oh no, give Adelaide a follow. Okay, so not so, man. Apologies for that. Cool. There's no true random. You can see events off chain as well because the random numbers come from CPU. Yeah. So I think it's true randomness in computing is I guess a spectrum, kind of hard to generate. But then you could always ask, what is randomness? Is anything truly random? But I think there's also a question of centralization with this. Relying on Chainlink is itself a point of failure for this sort of thing, which I think should be known really and thought about. Cool. So Chainlink keepers, so is put it into here. They automate smart contract functions. So we do, it's things like, okay. We do it by time based with custom logic. You can use on-chain data by block number. Also a kind of nice thing that if we're building kind of advanced game functionality, we might want to automate some of it. More Twitters. Again, I will follow. And I'll follow later if it's terrible. Cool. What are some good examples of Chainlink and Gaming, just that you can refer to? Well, you've got Ether cards. Again, we're using the VRF here, and I encourage you to kind of have a look at these later. Maybe I can put a little section here that says examples. So Ether cards, pull together, kind of look at this, the lossless loss-free stuff. Polychain monsters. Othergotchi. Plenty of different kind of protocols that kind of use it. And again, we mainly talk about the VRF here, that will be reused, which is a kind of essential if you're going to build a gaming experience. Now, it doesn't really solve the issue of like, you still are going to build quite simple game experiences, and that itself could be solved by better kind of layer ones, or it might be the case that it just limits what type of games we can actually build on blockchain. Cool. Awesome. So we kind of, I'm going to change these because these are ugly as hell. So we're going to talk again about the future of gaming. So future of gaming, we said perhaps in terms of a new type of game, loot, the kind of bigger game stuff. It definitely opens the idea of economies within games. But I think it should be known that maybe Web3 will just be for quite static, slow-moving kind of gaming experiences. That's also kind of a very clear possibility. And we're looking at things kind of more on kind of gambling use cases. Oh my God. Gambling use cases, speculation, lotteries, stuff that you have now, or maybe kind of slow strategy games. A very good kind of game developer here that I really like, or a very good game is kind of Conquest. And this is done by a good friend of ours, Ronan. See if I can find it. It's called Wigawag on Twitter. So the kind of stuff like that. Also, I think kind of in the kind of future is we're going to start to see new blockchains emerge that are specifically for gaming. I think you can kind of look at Avalanche, and I think it also opens up the idea of things like subnets, or kind of parachains on Polkadot, where you have specific chains and node operators designed to facilitate certain types of game. And I recommend a chap called Patrick O'Grady from Avalanche on the kind of subnet stuff. So that's sort of another possibility that we just see different sort of blockchains emerge that kind of suits this better. Anything else I want to add about that? So in terms of opportunities for you, I think that the first thing you should note, also what color should we use? Should we go purple? Yeah. The first thing you note is that games are extremely valuable in crypto. Because they do, in many cases, capture that speculative side that fits crypto very well. I think some good examples here are the games like kind of Footium, which is doing particularly well. That's a game out of Encode. You've got Legends of Venari. You've got Illuvium. All kind of good examples of kind of places that are doing that. And I think particularly, and this is something Loot had, it fits crypto and native token models okay, Cam, I'll give you a follow now. Native token models fit communities extremely well, or fit building communities extremely well. I think this has to be said as well. So the opportunity view is clearly a startup, and if you have a great gaming startup, I would be more than happy to consider it. The second thing is, if you are kind of a game developer, many protocols are hiring these, particularly Unity devs. And I recommend in this respect, well, we have a wonderful head of talent, Laura, who we can help you with. But also, and I actually, by the way, should add here, you should be, if you're interested in a startup, Animoca are amazing gaming investors. Yeah, and we actually had Robbie, an MA with Robbie, the founder, which was super cool as well. Cool. So if you're a game developer, there's many opportunities as well. Also, I think there's kind of opportunities, and this is getting a little bit messy now, so I'm going to drag this over here. Go through that. Cool. Opportunities as a gamer. If you back a game early by being a user, you might get tokens or early access to kind of be a kind of a power user. That is a great economic decision. And I think you've got to look here about the example of like Axie Infinity and a lot of people who did that sort of stuff. And also with things like Axie, you have this idea of kind of gaming guilds as well, which are kind of investors / people. Yeah, it's actually already there. I'll share it now. Or people who rent out their kind of accounts for you to earn money with them and give them back a share. So a good example here is YGG. So there's also opportunities to go both by kind of backing stuff early or kind of have I done the edit link again? I don't think I have. No, it's view. We're good. Thank God. So there's that kind of stuff as well. No, you're right to chat. Okay, so like summarizing this up, guys, I'd say gaming is popular but nascent in crypto. It's because building a game on a blockchain is hard, because if the events are transactions, it's very slow and costly. They're also, most games are on normal servers and actually only put the tradable assets on chain. That's fine, but it's a very different experience, which is where we kind of get the idea of NFTs in gaming. The main use case of crypto is still speculation and gambling, which doesn't perfectly fit games. Most games are also kind of refresh every year or every few years, and crypto games can't because of their protocols. Chainlink is vital for gaming for a few reasons. One, it brings in randomness through the verifiable random function. And so if you are a game developer, you will be using it. It has these particular features that are very important. I'm going to move this so it looks prettier. You also, again, which allows kind of good prize payments, fair kind of outcomes, and random operation of assets. You also got Chainlink keepers that are quite useful as well. As we look to the future of gaming, I think there's broadly kind of 4 trends. And once again, this is a bit ugly, so I'm going to organize it around. So kind of 4 things. One, that new blockchains might emerge, specifically gaming, such as Avalanche. Second, maybe Web3 will just be for slow moving kind of strategic games. Conquest is a good example. Maybe we have a new type of game, which is the loot, kind of everyone contributing to a game protocol ecosystem. And also you've got this idea of economies within games, where you might be able to have native currencies maybe that used or services kind of on top of games themselves. And this kind of, as we look at your own opportunities, I think there's broadly a few. One is starting a startup, where this is a very investable opportunity. Second is getting hired as a game developer. And third is opportunities if you are a gamer to kind of bet on the game early and then be rewarded in tokens. You can get involved in gaming guilds where people kind of loan you their accounts to kind of, because they don't have time to play, but have invested in one. If a player gets a token every time he shoots a zombie, which part is on chain? So that would be the game itself is not on chain. It's just hosted on a server, and the token would be given to you on chain. So in that case, you would have to also have. Sorry, let me do so again. Your question was, if you had a shooting game, and you got a token every time you shot a zombie as a reward, you're asking which part is on chain and which part is off chain. So in this case, the game itself would be on chain, off chain. It would just be hosted on a normal server. The assets, the tokens, would be on chain. So you as a user would also have a crypto account, a crypto wallet linked to your account. And the game would presumably give you a token every time it recognized that you killed someone. So only the reward would be on chain. And this is the case in most games, because as we talked about here, otherwise everything is a microtransaction that is going to be very costly and extremely slow. Cool. Any other questions, guys? If the game is online, so if the game is offline, it's basically, this is what I think, this is a really good point actually. I'm actually going to add this to the thing. Kind of one big problem with this approach it means games are centralized typically, and therefore the developers have could manipulate the game to their own ends. This is at odds with the the spirit of crypto. So I think that's a really important point. Nicely made. Let's make that small. As a second mint. Again, you don't need someone's private key to mint and send a token. The game will have its own private keys, so the game will be able to like mint stuff. So yes, if you hack the game, but we're kind of screwed. But again, this is maybe it comes to this point that therefore the game itself is a point of failure, not a protocol isn't minting, a game is minting. There are ways to kind of get around that, but it's still problematic. Cool. Guys, any other questions? Keep them coming. Any protocols library? I just use JavaScript or Unity. Unity is typically the language. Cool. If you want to build a game, I'd be really bloody impressed in our hackathon. Okay, yes, sorry. I'd be a Unity developer. Obviously, you do it in C#. Is there any other questions? Otherwise, I highly encourage you to come to our hackathon. It's a 4-week online hackathon. There are tons of prizes available. Please sign up here. If you build a game, it's a very good way to get to the final and win prizes. Cool. Not as yet. I think Chainlink's come to Solana, but so maybe on that side of things. So we are broadly talking about on the EVM. Oh, good man, you've registered for it. Or one, Devrata, I can't really tell from your name. Good person. Awesome, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day, morning, evening, wherever you are, and see you all soon.